Hey everybody, Northwoods Yankee here, born and raised in the North. I've decided to do my channel based on everyday things that I do, normal life for me. So give me some time. This is not a full-time job for me like it is for some people. I put my stuff up and make my recordings as time allows. Things I'll be doing and things you'll be seeing if it interests you is we're going to be swinging chainsaws, doing radio stuff, uh, jarring and canning, home repairs, welding, tractor work, vehicle repairs, running sawmills, and a wide variety of things. That's just what we do up here. So if these things interest you, check things out, follow me, and hit subscribe, hit that like button, drop comments, feel free to ask questions. So with that, take it easy. All right, here's a project. I'm going to install a Slage keypad entry deadbolt in a door. The door doesn't have a hole for it. It only has a hole for a doorknob, which is already in there. So I have to make a hole. So to make sure I didn't screw things up and get them in the wrong place, I picked up one of these jigs that mounts right to the side of the door. So you can blow your hole to put it in. That's where your bolt comes out through. So everything goes exactly where it's supposed to go. So I'm going to get it set up and we'll see how she goes. Here's what the door looks like. Regular knob or whatever can go right there where it's supposed to, so the deadbolt's going to go above it. As you can see, there's no hole. So that's what we're going to do. I've only done this once, and that was, probably 15 years ago. So let's get the jig set up and hopefully everything works right. It says 3 easy steps, so we will see. So before you go blowing a hole through your door, you need to know what you have for a lock set. So here's your bolt. Same thing would apply if you're doing a regular doorknob. If your hole is already in the door, I think most of these you're going to get these days, you can adjust between 2 3/8 and 2 3/4 on your length to fit anything. But just in case you don't, double check. This one came set at 2 3/8. So that's the distance from here to right here where the rod goes through, the actuator rod that makes your bolt slide in and out. So when that goes in your door, for on center, is it going to be from the edge? Is it going to be 2 3/8 on center or 2 3/4 on center? Make sure you know what that is before you just drill a hole through your door. Because if you have the wrong long set and you can't adjust, wrong lock set and you can't adjust it, you're screwed. So on this jig, you can slide it between both measurements. So we're going to run 2 3/8 because that's what it came as on this. So let's set her up and get it ready. So the instructions recommend from center of this hole to the center of the deadbolt 5.5 inches minimum. So I went up 7 and made a mark. So we're not done here yet. We want to make sure our new lock set has clearance. So trying to hold the camera and hold the lock set's kind of a pain. So there's our mark. And I'm holding the center of the lock set on my mark, and I've got the clearance right here, so I'm not going to be too low and then not be able to get the thing because it's going to be bumping on this. That would be pretty disappointing too. So I'm going to center my jig right on that mark right there and screw it to the door. Alright, so the jig is on. There's the line, it's centered in the hole roughly. So we want to drill twice, measure once, right? Now we're going to measure twice, drill once. So we're going to double check and make absolutely sure we have the clearance. So here's the outside of the deadbolt. And there it is. Friggin' door's moving. So I can get my foot around the back side here. There we go. So that's going to go through the hole there when the hole gets drilled. And oh yeah, look at all the room. No problem. And we're still over on the 2 3/8 side. We didn't screw up and slide it the wrong way. At least if I did, I could still recover because this is adjustable. So now we're ready to drill the hole through there. Drill the hole through there. Then we could put the deadbolt in. Then we have to line it up and get the hole drilled in here somewhere. So the hole saw, the mandrel, the paddle bit is going to go through here. What else did they said? A couple regular drill bits to drill the holes for the to hold the deadbolt in. Those all came with the Ryobi kit. So just using the electric drill running on yesterday's solar power because there's no sun today. So let's make a hole. Just broke through the pilot. We're getting there. Got the metal part of the door stuck in there. Yeah, it's bits. Is that deep enough to get all the way through? Yeah, it might get all the way through. Let's see. We'll give it a shot. Made for doors, it ought to go all the way through, right? I don't think it is. I think I bottomed out. Yeah, definitely have bottomed out. Well, that's all right. I made it far enough that on this side I've got an indentation from the pilot bit. All right, well, good now. I just finished running that one pilot hole all the way through, so now I've got a hole on this side. Just a little hole, enough to get that pilot bit into so that it can't walk and wander on this side of the door. So now the hole is going to be accurate when we go through. is. There's the plug. There goes the metal part of the door. There's a hole through. Stick my finger through it. Pretty cool, huh? Now we gotta do the side of it. Yeah, that looks real nice. Got a nice brand new shiny 1-inch paddle bit that came in the kit. Now I'm going to run it right through there, and that'll hit the center of that hole that just got done. Or better, anyway. Got ready to bust through. Yeah, we made it. All right. On to the next step. Okay, we're getting there. Got our big hole, got the little hole, and these holes here from screwing the jig on match up to these. There we go. So that slides in, but we're not done yet. We can't just screw this in yet, because see what we have happening? That needs to be flush. Needs to look like this here. So what we got to do is get it on there straight, mark it with a pen, pencil or something. So I'm going to line it up with the screw holes, mark it, and then we'll break out a chisel. So I put the screws in temporarily. That holds it secure. Then I traced all the way around it. So that's how it's going to sit in the door. And then come back out. I don't know if you can see it real good or not, but we've got a pen line right around there. Now we just use a nice sharp chisel and a hammer and start whittling it away until it gets recessed down enough so that that plate I showed you a minute ago gets flush with the side of the door. So as you could tell before, don't need to go very far down in there, just the thickness of that plate. So we're not going to start wailing on it. By the way, chisel might not be included with the jig kit. So jigged around here, there we go. And don't try to do this with a screwdriver. I'm sure somebody probably has somewhere. Yeah, get her scored in there a little. So this is what I'm gonna do. Just keep chipping away at it a little bit till I make it fit. You don't want to watch that. All right, it fits in there right now. It's getting dark up here at the moment. So it goes in. Sticks out just a whisker. The door does close all right. I'm going to go just a little bit deeper. Up here in the north, we have a thing called frost, which tends to move things around. So just in case things move around a little bit, I don't want this to be able to jam up on the door jamb. So I'm just going to chisel out a little bit here more on the depth, and then we're good to go. Alright, we're ready. One thing I didn't mention when you're chiseling, you might have caught on, but to get your end lines, you get a slope on your chisel, hammer it in a little bit like that, same thing on your bottom, flip it over, those are score marks, and then you want to hold your chisel this way, not this way, or you're going to start digging in. So if you chisel this way, it works kind of as a guide. Don't chisel sideways because you're going across the grain of the wood. So from the hole, chisel up to your score marks. Same thing coming down. Make score marks on the side if you even have any material to do it with, and work from your center down to your score marks. So this hole is pretty smooth. It's pretty flush. When I put that in there now, it's good and flush on the side of the door, so now it's ready to be screwed in and ready to put the rest of it together. Alright, so we're ready to do it. The instruction manual says don't use a power screwdriver for this. Don't pay attention to that. So the reason they would say that is because somebody was putting in screws with a power screwdriver and just cranked the living snot out of it and stripped out the wood, stripped out the heads, ruined something. So just don't do that and you should be fine. I've put in a lot of blocks. As I said at the beginning, it's been probably 15 years since I've had to use the jig and drill the holes. But doing lock sets, I've done a lot of those. I used to be a maintenance guy. And I've always used a battery drill. Just don't be stupid with it. Be gentle with it. Not telling you not to follow the directions. I'm just saying my personal experience of having done many of them. There. That is in there. Nice and flush. Now we're going to get all of this rigging in there. This little flat bar is not attached to this, by the way. It comes out. So make sure you have it in there. Before you put your exterior piece on. Alright, then we have what we call the base plate right here. And I'm in the way of my door. So I'm going to move. Hopefully it sits there. So you've got a wire. You see it. Wire comes through. There's a certain hole that comes through right there. Make sure that flat rod comes through the base plate correctly. There we are. Alright, just felt it all seat together right. Feels pretty good. If something doesn't feel right sliding it together, stop. Don't force anything. And don't use your mouth to hold stuff either. Alright, let's see. What's binding up the cheese here? See, I took it nice and easy with the drill. I didn't just give it hell. Alright, now we got this little plastic piece here. It's kind of in the way. Just a second. Let me take a look at this. I'll be right back. Okay, on the base plate, the rear plate inside, you've got this little plastic cam thing they call it, which is horizontal. And it blocks a screw hole. And for some reason, they can't do this at the factory. So to be able to put it together, you need to get it up and down. Like that. There's an arrow on the bottom of it. It should be pointing down. So now when we start sliding things together, everything should go together, right? Flat rod comes through that little plastic piece. There we go, the screw holes line it up. Yep, so started all right, no problem. Nice and gentle, I'm not going to crank it. Okay. So the rear plate's on. The outside part is on. The face plate, I guess you want to call it, whatever. So next thing we want, these friggin' directions, they've got pictures here, there, and everywhere, and letters and numbers, and it's kind of confusing. So the next thing you want is the battery and to plug it in. So, runs on a 9-volt battery. Sorry if I'm flashing you there. And then the wire that came through from the outside plugs up to a wire on the inside. Went beep like it's supposed to. The battery is supposed to fit up in the top there. There we go. And we gotta tuck these wires up in there. Fold them around a little bit so that they don't get jammed. There we go. And then there's a rear cover plate with your knob. A couple more screws to hold that together. So we want to orient that to meet up with that flat bar that comes through. Right about there somewhere. Holy crap, I actually got it. First friggin' time. Yeah, look. It works. At least from the inside it works. So we take those two screws there. And again with a drill that we're not using. Put together gently. Just snug them. And there, it's installed. So this has a key hole right there in case the battery ever dies. You can stash your key somewhere. Shut this off. So now all I got to do is program in my codes that I want and put the hole in the door jamb, and this will be done. So here it is at 16:33 hours, or 4:33 to people that don't understand this 24 hours in a day. And it's already well past dark up here. Alright, so using one of the default codes that kind of like comes on all of these locks. So if you ever get one of these, always make sure you change the code. Actually, I think the code that's in this one is the same one that came in this one well over a year ago. So if they're generic, change them. It's not that hard to do. So you just punch in your code. And there it is, it works. Then when your timer runs out, it just free spins. Alright. So, yep, now I just changed my code and we're good to rock and roll and get the door jam done. I goofed just a little bit yesterday. I said it's been about 15 years since I've had to drill a hole. And it shows. It's on my door, it's alright. It wasn't somebody else's. So learn from mistakes, right? Yeah. This should have been set over to the 2 3/4, so I should have extended the bolt part of it out 2 3/4. That's why I put that note at the beginning of the video. That would have made these two line up. So you can see how it's offset just a little bit. Again, it's my door, it's not a big deal. So the instructions didn't mention that part. So it didn't quite cue my memory. So keep that in mind. And the instructions in the Ryobi jig box there, package. talk about using an auto strike locator for figuring out where another hole like this goes up here for the deadbolt. And supposedly it's supposed to do that automatically for you. So I guess you're supposed to be able to figure that out and do all that first, then do the part on the door. But it doesn't exactly spell out step by step, so it leaves things open to interpretation. But we're going to get it done. My grandpa used to say there's more than one way to skin a cat. And he was right. There's usually more than one way to get something done. So rather than I'm outside walking around this morning, chasing around some partridges, and it's just above freezing out. So rather than take all this mess back out and re-rig the jig to try and use the auto strike locator, I still need to get the hole in the jam. So we're cheating. Extend the bolt out. Use a pen or a pencil. And all you gotta do is make a mark on the top, make a mark on the bottom. Now you know your height of the bolt. Pretty simple. There we go. Knock you around there. So we have it on the inside face. And all we have to do to get it over here to where the hole is going to go is have something that's 90 degrees. That screwed me up. I gotta flip this thing over. My line went right downhill. There we go. That's more straighter. Yeah. Now I know where the hole's going to land. Now all I have to do is figure out where it's going to go for a center this way. So on the face of the door, you've got two surfaces. You have your inner surface where the metal is. Then you have this wooden surface, which yesterday is why I used the paddle bit. It came with a 1-inch hole saw that I could have done this hole with, but there was no metal, so I just used the paddle bit. So we're going to use this wooden surface, this inside surface, because when you close the door, this becomes flush right here with the door jamb. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just simply measure from here over to the bolt. And then I have my measurement, and I'm going to go to the inside surface of the deadbolt. Then I'm going to cheat a little bit, because once I know where my inside measurement is, I have another old junk deadbolt laying around here that's the same dimension. So I can, cold weather sucks, I tell you. So I can extend that out and then just trace it around, and I know exactly where I have to put my hole. Okay, using the surface here, which flushed up with the door, as I described, I had to measure in 3/8. We already have our marks from the top and bottom of the deadbolt. So I'm going to use the paddle bit, speed bit, whatever they want to call it. I've always called them paddles. So as long as we line up the edge of the bit with the bottom and that mark, or that mark in the top, as long as we're good with those two, our hole is going to be centered. I've already poked the spike in, so it'll come out where it needs to be. Alright, there's a hole. I just want to make sure it's deep enough that the bolt is going to close in it. And it does. So the deadbolt is holding it closed now. Alright, good. So just like the instructions didn't say yesterday about chiseling out the door, let me slide you back over here. We need to chisel this out too, because we have strike plates. This set comes with two. It comes with one that has some big recessed holes in it for really long screws to go way into the studs with. Then it has another regular reinforcing plate that goes right over the top of it. So it's a double reinforced. So if I'm going to use both of them, which I am, I need to chisel down that thickness right there. So same story as what we did on the door. They don't tell you that in the instructions. Alright, I got it chiseled out. It felt pretty good. I put both strike plates in just with these screws. Made sure it worked. So it does. Now I'm going to take the strike plate off, put the great big huge screws in for the back plate in there, then put this back on and it will be done. Because these screws are so big, drilled a couple of pilot holes through the door casing so that we don't split it. It is in permanently now. And it locks. So this is done.